A small portion of this video is sponsored by Squarespace, the ultimate platform for designing your stunning new website. Hey guys, Mark here, and welcome to my full review of the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, the phone that made me put away my Pixel 5 for good. If you've seen a few of my videos before, you'd know that I usually carry two phones with me, an iPhone for work, which is currently the iPhone 12 mini, and an Android for my own personal use, which up until this point was the Pixel 5. I loved how lightweight and compact that phone was, but the main seller of the Pixel phones for me was always two things: the software experience and the cameras. But Samsung has come a long way in both the software and camera department since the last time I seriously considered switching to a Samsung flagship, and the S21 Ultra is finally the full package that I've been waiting for. Let's start with this 6.8-inch display. As the name of the phone would suggest, they went all out for the Ultra. It's got a high refresh rate display that can be used at both 120Hz and the native screen resolution of 1440 by 3200. It's a dynamic AMOLED for high contrast and those deep inky blacks. It can hit a peak brightness of 1500 nits, and it can even throttle its refresh rate from 120Hz all the way down to 10Hz to save battery life depending on the content that you're viewing. I'm not a huge fan of curved glass on a smartphone, but the S21 Ultra is one of the first curved screen phones that Samsung has made in recent years that I can fully get behind. It's not a crazy waterfall display that would register a bunch of accidental touches, and it's not perfectly flat either. It's tastefully done, and I think it makes the phone look better without sacrificing usability, function, and form. Nice. This has quickly become one of my favorite devices to watch YouTube videos on. The colors and contrast are great, and while I'm not a big fan of Samsung's oversaturated, vivid color profile, the natural mode is excellent. The speakers are great too. They're not gonna turn heads or blow minds or anything, but for watching YouTube videos or a show on Netflix, they're decent. They just lack a little bit of that oomph in the low end. Underneath that bottom half of the screen sits the fastest fingerprint reader I have ever used, and that includes optical readers that aren't even under a display. Samsung is using Qualcomm's new 3D Sonic sensor here, and it's so fast that I only have to put my thumb on it for a split second. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Samsung has also stepped up their game a bit in the software department with the release of One UI 3.1 on the S21 series. The biggest change for me here personally is they let you now change the -1 page to Google Discover, which is one of the main reasons why I loved my Pixel and OnePlus Android phones. I just find it a lot more useful than that awful Flipboard page that they used to have over there. There's also some nice and clean visual changes in the drop-down menu, some added features in the video calling apps like blurring the background behind you in Google Duo or Zoom, lets you see and shoot from multiple cameras at once, and a new Comfort Eye Shield, which is basically a fancy blue light filter. You know, I was gonna talk about performance on this phone, but as I was sitting here thinking about what to say, I started wondering whether this portion of the review is even useful anymore. You know, if this was a $300 budget phone, then yeah, of course. I'm sure it would be very useful to know that the phone can do all of the normal things that a more expensive flagship phone can do without any hiccups. But this is a $1,200 phone called the Ultra. It's got a Snapdragon 888 and from 12 to 16 gigs of RAM. You know it's gonna be fast, and you know it's gonna be able to handle pretty much anything you can throw at it. So is there any point in even talking about the performance of a flagship phone like this? Let me know in a comment down below. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. In any case, no, I've had no real performance-related issues, surprise, surprise, when it comes to gaming or flicking through apps or anything like that. The only issues that I've actually run into with the S21 Ultra is actually performance in the camera app, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the camera portion of this review. Right now, though, I want to take just a quick minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-inclusive platform that comes with absolutely everything you need to build professional websites, online stores, portfolios, and more. They've got so many features that make it really easy to build a stunning looking website in very little time. They've got search engine optimization tools for ensuring your site gets found on sites like Google, email campaigns for spreading your messages, e-commerce tools for setting up an online store, and a whole bunch of other features to get your website up and running. I built this little test site for my YouTube channel in literally less than 15 minutes, and because Squarespace is so awesome, it does all the heavy lifting for you to optimize it for use on both mobile and desktop. Head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MarkSpurrell to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this part of the video, and now let's get back to the Ultra. Alright, it's time to talk about the back side of this phone, because to be honest, I like it quite a bit less than the front side. While I do think the design Samsung was going for is unique, the camera bump on this Ultra model is just a little too overpowering and monstrous for my liking. The matte black everything finish here is pretty freaking cool, but I really don't like the feel of this phone. It's Gorilla Glass Victus, but it feels a heck of a lot closer to plastic than it does glass. I'm also kind of worried about how well this finish is going to hold up over time, because when I went to my local Best Buy, I found this 2-week-old S21 Ultra on the display shelf that looks very well worn already. The glass may be strong, but that finish might not hold up if you put it through its paces. But as I've talked about ad nauseum in my glass versus plastic phone debate, most of you are going to be throwing a case on this bad boy anyway, so does it really matter about how the phone feels? Probably not. But you are paying a lot of money for this phone, so I felt it was worthwhile to note. There's also a couple of other notable things that Samsung has decided to omit from this year's S Ultra, like the micro SD card slot, something that's been a Samsung staple for years now. The other thing that Samsung omitted is, hilariously enough, a charging brick and headphones. Now, I say hilarious only because they memed on Apple for doing it just a few short months ago and then they went and did it themselves. It's really not funny though. It's actually kind of anti-consumer because even though this phone can fast charge up to 25 watts through its USB-C port, it's unlikely that most people have a charger that can supply that kind of power for fast charging. Anyway, it's camera time. That monster's camera bump is there for a reason. On the back of the S21 Ultra, there are 4 cameras along with a cutout for the laser autofocus system and the flash. From top to bottom, there's an ultra-wide with autofocus for macro shots, a standard wide-angle camera with a massive 108 megapixel sensor, a fairly normal 3x telephoto over on the right, and a huge 10x periscoping telephoto on the bottom. They really just jammed everything they could in there, and I'm totally here for it. If you're familiar with the cameras on the Note 20 Ultra, they feel very similar in quality here on the S21 Ultra, except with a few extra goodies. For example, like I just mentioned, the ultra-wide camera actually has autofocus built in, along with an extremely close focusing distance so that you can get excellent macro shots with a really unique field of view. What I was most impressed with about this camera system though is how far Samsung's portrait mode has come in the last little while. It almost never misses a beat and the edge detection is just stupid good. Combine that with the 40 megapixel front-facing camera and you get quite literally the best portrait mode selfie shots I have ever seen. I'm really not the kind of person that takes a ton of selfies, but if you are, you're really gonna enjoy this camera. Having a 10x optical zoom on a phone like this is also very useful. While I would never use the crazy 100x digital zoom to take an actual photo, I have used it on several occasions to do something like read a sign from very far away. You can also use all the cameras including the zoom at 4K 60 FPS, which looks great, even though Samsung needs to smooth out that zooming in and out animation quite a bit more. The 4K footage is very stable, and overall I like the colors coming out of this camera. The main camera can also shoot 8K video, but I don't think we're quite ready for that. It can only shoot 8K at 24 FPS anyway, and I don't see many people using it outside of just testing it out for fun. There is one issue with the camera system on this phone though, and I'm not sure if it's a software issue or a hardware issue, but it's shutter lag. This phone can be a bit of a pain when it comes to taking photos quickly. It's less noticeable in the regular photos mode, but switch it to portrait mode or the 108 megapixel mode and it'll start to get really annoying. Hopefully they can fix this with a software update in the future, but for now it's really laggy. Along with an ultra screen, an ultra fingerprint reader, and ultra cameras, this S21 Ultra has an ultra big battery. At 5,000 milliamp hours, the battery life on this phone is excellent, and I've only tested this phone at the full 1440p, maximum refresh rate of 120 Hz, and in light mode, not even dark mode. In my battery testing, where I played games on the phone for an hour, listened to music for 2 hours, recorded 4K video for an hour straight, and watched 3 full hours of YouTube videos, I got a grand total of 5 hours of screen on time, and the battery was still at 41%. And I'm sure if you throttled the display back to 60 Hz, or even just turn the resolution down to 1080p, you'll get a ton of more screen on time without killing the battery. So as you can probably tell from the overall tone of this video, I love the S21 Ultra. It's the first Samsung phone in a while that's made me switch my main Android device from a Pixel or a OnePlus, and it's been fantastic. The cameras are insanely versatile, and the combination of an excellent display and a big battery makes it a winner in my eyes. But this phone did cost me a crazy 1,800 Canadian dollars after taxes, so the fact that it's fantastic doesn't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you either. If you have that kind of cash to spend right now, then yes, by all means, go out and pick up an S21 Ultra. You get what you pay for when it comes to this phone. For everyone else though, the regular S21 is actually a great phone too, and it costs way less. Review on this one coming real soon, but for right now, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support my channel, and as always, have a great day.